Okay.
And that was
Good. All right. Well, welcome, Colin. I've given you plenty of lead up as to your importance and your role. So you've got to do is just deliver the presentation. But Colin is in from DC. It is 9 o'clock in the evening, I think, where he is. So he's kindly staying awake to go through this. But Colin has been part of the ICCR Secretariat since pretty much from the formation of the ICCR, and is critical to the functioning of the event. And I'm very grateful, Colin, for you joining us to give us an update. There'll be a chance, I think, at the end for any questions, if you do have any. I know a number of you will have seen and heard this update before as members, but there are a number of you who aren't members that I think would benefit. That's why we put this on the agenda. And, if you're not members, obviously, having gone through this presentation, we'd be very happy to talk about you becoming members of the RCG. And I'm sure Colin will do his sales pitch about becoming members of the actual ICCR itself as part of his presentation. So, Colin, over to you. And I think Pat will run your slides for you if you just ask him to move them through. Can you hear us all right and see the audience?
So I can see you, not the audience, but I can hear you all right. And thank you very much, Neil, for the warm introduction. And thank you to colleagues. My apologies for not making it. As Neil indicated, we are trying to organize for the plenary meeting that is going to be happening in the next 2 weeks. And we thought that we could still be able to join you in this particular format. My role today is to just give you a brief sense of what we've been working around and do a bit of sales pitch to some of you. If you can go to the next slide, Pat. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular slide, but I think it's always important for us to. And there were two avenues that were going to have representation. One was around membership, and the second one was around regional consultative groups. And I'll start with the membership. Over the past 3 to 4 years, we've experienced an increase in the number of members, but over the past 2 years, we have noted an excitement around the Global South in terms of being part of members, and we have started seeing conversion of excitement to actual members. So we have new members, and we also have 2 applications that we are currently considering, and we have some additional 2 or 3 institutions that we are following up in terms of converting their interest into application and ultimately membership. I'm emphasizing this because this is a call to some of the regulators that are in the room, that we want you to be on the table. We want you to be part of the process of shaping the direction and the substance of the committee. So for the regulators that are in the room that have not joined, please note that you are welcome and we look forward to having you. The path to membership is very simple. You express your interest to membership. We invite you to a couple of meetings where you attend as an observer, so that you acquaint yourself around the workings of the committee. And once you have done that, and you also demonstrate to the committee your relevance to the committee, we convert that to membership. If you can go to the next slide. The second dimension around strengthening our governance and expanding representation was the idea around regional consultative groups. And I want to, at this juncture, give kudos to the BII team and Neil in particular for being our first test case. So when we conceptualized regional consultative groups, we needed to actually actualize it. in a particular region, and Asia Pacific was the first region where we tested the concept of regional consultative groups, and that was in October 2023 in Bali. And what has been amazing about this journey is that we have noted that ever since we created the Asia Pacific Regional Consultative Group, it has been meeting consistently. The depth of the discussions during the meetings and the attendance has been increasing over time. And as a result, I want to appreciate all of you for your dedication and for your participation. We've called on most of you to be panelists, to present, and to join hands with us. And you have shown us a lot of love and respect in responding to our call. So we want to express our gratitude to all of you. We also want, in the same vein, to call on some of you who haven't participated as yet to become a bit more active. The regional consultative groups are designed to be driven by the regions. We stand to offer our support, but we do not want the committee to overshadow what is happening in the regions. So for the regional consultative groups to be more vibrant, we look forward to your active participation and your continuous participation. On the back of the progress and the impetus that was created with the Asia Pacific Regional Consultative Group, I'm pleased to announce that we have created 2 additional regional consultative groups, one in Latin America in 2024, and in 2025, we've created an additional one in Africa. We are currently in discussions to formalize the regional consultative group for Europe, and we hope to do that in the second quarter of this year. So this is a testament of how the idea around regional consultative groups are becoming popular. Next slide. I touched on the issue of the strategy when I started. So the work we have been doing has been guided by the strategic plan that we developed in 2020, which ran from 2020 to 2024. It was built around 5 pillars. And the first pillar was on policy development and implementation. The second pillar was on policy advocacy and international cooperation. Then we had a pillar on research and knowledge management, capacity building, and governance and member liaison. The strategy, as you can see from the years, has run its course, and we are now in the process of formulating a new strategy. And I think it's very important for me to highlight at this juncture that, again, this is a call to all of you. We have a draft strategic framework that we circulated last year that most of you have seen, and we have invited your comments to that draft strategic plan. And I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, a bit later. But my call to action is for you to be able to reflect as you discuss and as you meet as the regional consultative group, to reflect on the priorities of the region and give us a sense of what you think are going to be the important topics that we should focus on. But we should not lose sight to the fact that the strategic plan is not just about tactics, but we are also looking at a lot of other strategic imperatives, which I'm going to discuss a bit later. If you can go to the next slide. In terms of the core of what we do, one of the things that I think we've been a bit disciplined about and we've done well is on publications. And I'm pleased to indicate that the landscape document on alternative data has been finalized and it's now available on the website. And again, on this note, allow me to thank you. Most of you participated in our survey instrument, in our survey processes, Some of you were also featured case studies in this particular landscape, emphasizing the fact that we cannot do most of the work that we do without your support. And I want to thank you for that and for your continued support going forward. I know that some of you have been asking on the status of the 3 other papers that we have been working on. And I'll give you a bit of update on where we are on those papers in the next slide. So if you can go to the next slide, Pat. On the first paper, which is going to be a subject of this regional consultative group, the one on evolving role of public credit registry, the paper is done and it's undergoing editing and grammar. We are grateful of the comments that you gave us, and I think the team is going to present the key takeaways from the paper, the recommendations, and what we saw coming out of the paper. I'm not going to preempt that conversation. The second paper is on sex disaggregated data. That paper is undergoing peer review on this Friday, June the 6th, within the World Bank group processes. So the way it works is that once we have finalized our ICCR process, we subject our papers to an additional layer of peer review. And this is driven by the fact that we want our papers to be of high standard and high quality. And as a result, they go through a double layer of quality assurance, if we may call it that. Similarly, the paper on ESG is going through that same process. So we expect coming out of Friday that we are going to be communicating to you, but the official communication is going to come out following our meeting in Cape Town, June 25th to 27th. That is coming up on the state of those papers. And let me, by this, extend invitation to our regulatory friends who are already not part of the distribution list for those that are going to Cape Town, to say that you can reach out to Neil or reach out directly with myself if you have an intention of attending the meeting in Cape Town as an observer. I said deliberately to our public sector friends simply because our private sector colleagues are ably represented through the associations, and BIIA is going to be ably represented. So if there are any public sector entities that are interested in attending the plenary meetings in Cape Town, please feel free to reach out to us and we can facilitate that to happen, and you'll be able to attend as observers. Now, turning on a slight tangent, I thought it would be important to just give you a sense of what we are seeing as the key developments in the industry. And I know that this is not new to you, and it's going again to be a subject of discussion. Pat, if you can go to the next slide. So next slide, please. So what we are seeing in the market is that there is an emergence of new players and new business models that have the potential of improving the quality of services, increasing competition, but there's also potential for regulatory arbitrage. And as a result, there's some thinking around how we can ensure that we open up for innovative models, but do it in a manner that is even-handed. The issue of expanding referencing perimeter and emergence of new data sets, I think this is something that has been with us for almost a decade now, and it is what necessitated us to do the policy guidance note on alternative data in 2018 and to decide to do a landscape 7 years later in 2025 to see how the market has moved. But there are challenges that are emerging in terms of how the industry is coping with some of the data. For example, data on BNPL, data on mobile money, which is low size tickets, high velocity, high volume, short tenure. And it's something that we are looking at closely on how we can be able to promote sharing of best practice across countries for those that have been able to do it well, so that they can be able to showcase that and be, to the extent possible, provide guidance as a committee on how this can be handled. The issue of changes in data sharing models necessitated us to do a paper on evolving role of public credit registries. And what I can say without preempting the paper is that we came to the conclusion that we have now two different types of public credit registries. There's the traditional one and there's an innovative one, and that has implications in the market. And I'm pretty sure the discussion on that topic is going to surface some of the issues associated with that. Technology, new technologies and data, the whole conversation around artificial intelligence, and now generative AI, the issue of moving beyond just alternative data to trended data is something that is also finding expression. Cross-border information sharing is something that we felt was very important. I think 4 years ago, when we did an exploratory paper on cross-border information sharing. But I'm happy to report that we are now beginning to see substantive actions happening in that. And Asia Pacific has been leading in that particular conversation. If you look at Cambodia, Singapore, and some other regional initiatives, and now we are beginning to see that also extending to other regions, whether it's Latin America, Africa, and even Europe. And driven by both incumbent financial CRSPs and also new and innovative CRSPs that are emerging. Consolidations in the industries is something that we are seeing, and one of the discussion notes that we are having around the next work plan is around the sustainability of credit reporting service providers across markets. At the World Bank group, we have actually come up with a tool to help us in assessing sustainability of credit reporting institutions across several markets. The tool looks at 4 dimensions. There's the legal and regulatory aspects. There's the operation aspect of the CRSPs, where we look at the product services that are offered and all of that. There's the research and development aspect, and then there's the financial aspect of it. And we look forward to be engaging with some of you as we roll this out, because we felt that it would be important for us to start looking at that and at least have that contribute to some of our regulatory reform work that we do. I think the issue of data-centric solutions is also gaining prominence, which comes with personalization and the consumer protection aspects that are associated with that. I cannot overemphasize. If you can go to the next slide. The next slide talks about AI. I think it's again a topical issue. Next slide, Pat. It's a topical issue, and there's a lot of discussion around AI and the AI regulations and how they might actually affect business as we know it. And there's also a lot of conversation around how it affects consumer protection, the emergence of principles. And on this, I think it would be useful for the members to refer to our policy guidance notes on technological innovations that we released in 2022. It could give you a sense of how we look at technology. For us, we think technology as neutral, look at technology as being neutral, but there are several nuances that we think need to be surfaced as people look at responsibly using technology. But what is also exciting is the fact that we are not just seeing the use of technology in private sector entities, but also in public sector entities. And we have just concluded a case study of the use of AI for data quality in a public credit registry, which focused on the the Central Bank of Brazil, Banco Central Brazil. We hope to issue that case study post the plenary meetings in June. So the purpose of the case study is to give you a sense of how they utilized AI and also share on what we feel are the key success factors for public sector entities that are looking at leveraging AI. Next slide. We spoke about the fact that the strategy is winding down. And before we talk about the new strategy that is underpinned by the developments that we have just discussed, it will be good for us to be able to pause and reflect on what the previous strategy achieved. I'm not going to go through all of this. The slides will be available for you to see. But in terms of governance, for those who would have wanted to know who the new members are, they are on this slide. That is why I did not spend a lot of time on it. But some of the issues that I think are very interesting, at least from where we are sitting from a policy development and implementation, is that we are seeing a translation of our policy work into actual implementation in countries. And the key example is around the pilots on alternative data, which are scaling across the globe. The second topic where we are seeing that implementation is on explainability in credit scoring, where a guideline that we did in 2022 that looked at innovative credit scoring and credit scoring approaches in general. So we are happy that we are beginning to see that work finding expression in some countries. On cross-border, I think I spoke about this. And finally, the one other document that I think I left there is on COVID. We did a COVID guidance note during the pandemic. It was one of our quickest response during the pandemic, and it found expression in several countries. From a capacity building perspective, we are seeing that there's increasing member exchange that are either facilitated directly through the secretariat or even bilaterally through members. And we are excited about how members are being able to leverage across other members for them to be able to learn and to translate some of the best practice that is emerging in other countries to influence the work they do. So that's part of what we celebrate as the achievements of the previous strategy. So based on the previous strategy, the emerging trends that we discussed, we have come up with a proposal in terms of how our strategy going forward should look like, the strategy for 2025 to 2030. And the strategy, if you can go to the next slide, this strategy is anchored on the premise that we believe that more is better. So you would find that we have tried to narrow our pillars effectively to 3. You'll see 4 pillars here, but effectively the pillars are 3. We want to do less, but that less, do it very well and do it to focus on depth rather than breadth. We will still continue with policy developments, but we want to double down on monitoring adoption and implementation. And this is very important. As you could tell from the previous slide, I was already preempting the fact that we have been actively trying to monitor how the work we are doing is translating to the actual implementation on the ground. Some of you have been reaching out to us, asking a lot of questions around implementation of certain standards that we haven't given you comprehensive answers that you require. So we believe that in this next strategy plan, we'll focus on monitoring, adoption, and implementation. And this will require your cooperation as we try to do baselines around the global stats, impact assessments, and all of that. So we will be leaning on your cooperation for us to be able to achieve that. Governance, membership recruitment is going to continue. We will continue reaching out to you with the intention of having you to participate in the ICCR. There are several proposals on governance reforms that I cannot preempt now, but we are going to share the revised strategy document within the next 2 weeks, at least two weeks away from the plenary meeting in South Africa, for your comments. And what we are going to do for this particular strategic document is to allow you to comment on it. Then we hopefully look forward to finalizing it during the ICCR plenary meeting. So please be on the lookout for the strategy document, and please express your comments both on the strategic framework itself, but also we appreciate your input on the work plan as we go forward. Most of you have complained about visibility and accessibility of a lot of the work that we are doing. That is difficult to find, and it's something that we are emphasizing as a foundational block in terms of this upcoming strategy. And research will continue being something that we anchor everything that we do on. Let me pause here and invite any questions, comments, but thank you very much for the time.
Quite a lot to go through, I know, and some of you've already been through this, but others it's fresh. Does anybody have any questions about the ICCR and what we're doing? I think it's pretty straightforward. We do have some microphones, by the way, that we will run around, and if not, you're all waking up still. Okay, all right. No reflection on you, Colin. It's just you're warming everybody up this morning, so. Thank you for that. And just to mention a little bit on top of what Colin's covered, that from an RCG perspective, he did say that RCGs are meant to be run by you as members, not by the Secretariat. So we have been exploring, since we set up the Asia Pacific Regional Consultative Group, the implementation of a chair and deputy chair from the membership to lead the development of the RCG, and that request is still open. And we are still willing and hopefully have conversations with any of you who might be keen to take on that role. We do have a job description for that role as a chair. It's not an onerous role, but it's obviously one that we would like to see in place. So if any of you, as a result of today, feel as though you can contribute to that and can help lead the RCG, then we'd be very happy to, Colin or I, to hear from you. In fact, my colleagues from BIA here as well, Peter and Ingrid, would be happy to have that conversation. Please stand up, you two, and just thank you very much. There you go. So I think maybe, Colin, that's probably where we are. So we'll let you go to bed, as they say. But thank you for your support, and I'm sure we'll be in touch before South Africa, but the invitation is there if any of you do wish to come as guests to Cape Town, and I can't think of a better place to go to be honest with you. then please let me know or Colin know, and we'd be happy to see you there. But Colin, thanks again, and speak to you soon. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you very much, and wishing you the best for the rest of the meetings.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate that.